Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Partners in Success webinar. This is for the Global First Year Programs, the Scholars Program. So if you are a London Scholar or a New York City Scholar or a family member or guest of those students, you are in the right place. We will get started in another half minute as we wait for folks to enter the room. Okay. Why don't we slow roll? I do have some housekeeping to start the call with, so we can go ahead and do that, and then we will move forward. For folks who have not met me, I'm Dr. Shannon Fairley Pittman. I am the director of our Global Network First Year Program, so I am so excited to be able to manage the two programs that I shared out earlier before, London Scholars and New York City Scholars. For folks who, again, have not met me in other forums, I've been at Northeastern for 13 years and have been part of many different areas of the student experience here at Northeastern, ranging from scholarships to student involvement, most recently honors. And then for the past almost 4 years, I've been managing programs such as this within our global network. So I am so pleased to welcome all of you and welcome all of you to the Husky family. For today, we will be focusing on information that is geared for our parents. Now, students, if you're on the call, please stay, but this is geared for our parents so that they can understand and appreciate the many different resources and ways that we hope that they will be guided as a global first year program parent. We will go through a series of different information. We are recording this session. So if you do need to leave or if you want to be reminded of information that we shared, this will be recorded and we will be sharing this back out to folks after this session. So no worries, but feel free to take screenshots and those things as well so that you have this information for your own reference. For housekeeping, we do have an option for folks to ask questions. I am hopeful that we will provide many of the information in the screen, on the slides, but if you have questions, at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A box. And so I'll ask that folks ask questions there. I do have some members of my team on the call who will be able to get to some of the questions. If they don't, no worries. We will leave our contact information at the end in the chat so that folks can email us. But again, if you have questions, feel free to put in the Q&A chat and our team will do our best to get to you. I also want to share, if we go to the next slide, I also want to share that we have two guests on the call joining me. One is a parent of a recent rising sophomore. And so this student just finished their first year in our Global Scholars Program, and they're going to be a sophomore starting on our Boston campus. And their parent is on the call, Jacqueline. And so you'll be able to meet her soon. And we'll be having a Q&A. So she'll talk about her experience as a parent of a scholar student. And then we have my colleague, Kellyanne, who will join me from the Office Open. And so they'll be joining me in just a bit. If we move through, I just wanted to provide some insights for folks who, again, this might be your first time learning about our global first year programs here at Northeastern. And so I just want to remind folks or provide an update on information about who we are. So Northeastern has been around for 125 years. We're so proud to be able to have programs such as the London Scholars and the New York City Scholars Program, which is part of an enrollment opportunities for our students here at Northeastern University. As you can see here at Northeastern, we're pretty popular. This year, we had record-breaking year of 105,000 applications. So that's 105,000 people who are interested in being a student at Northeastern. And we don't have 105 spots for our first year class. And so to be selected to be a London Scholar and a New York City Scholar is a huge honor. And for students on the call, you should be proud of that. And for parents and families on the call, you should also be proud of that. And so we're so pleased to be able to welcome you to this opportunity where you'll be joining 2,800 other global first-year students in fall 2025. That means that there will be London scholars, New York City scholars, as well as our sister program, the Northeastern International Program, where we have 13, or actually we have 11 sites where students will be as well in their first year in other locations outside of our Boston campus. So students on the call, families on the call, this is a big operation, and this is a pretty big pillar of the Northeastern experience, where students are spending time all around the world as a first year student. We make up, the Global First Year Programs Office makes up 50% of the first year class. And so that means there are just as much folks who are in Boston as out in the world as a first year student, as Northeastern student. And so all of those folks will convene together in Boston in their second year. And again, there'll be a huge cohort of students who have experienced the things that you'll be experiencing in first year, which is learning how to be a global citizen, right? Learning how to operate in new locations, learning how to be a transient student, and what we call mobility, learning to take opportunities to try new things, be in new places, learn different rules of engagement, and also learn about different people and different cultures. We also know that this is a first year program, so beyond all of that, we will provide lots of ways for you to learn how to transition from high school to college. And so we can talk more about that. One of those things is really providing opportunities through webinars such as this, where you can learn about the resources and opportunities that are available to you as a first year student. So if we move to the next slide, I just want to be able to provide, again, this is really for our parents to understand the support networks for their students. We, again, will share this information with your student in many ways, in many forums. But again, we want to make sure that you have an understanding of how this works as well. There is a central team that is a resource. And so behind me, there are many folks that will be providing resources and opportunities for your students. If you look at the slide here on the left hand, the on-site team is a huge resource for our students. They consist of a program supervisor, a student success manager, and student success coordinators. At any given site, that can range between 10 to 20 people that will be on-site staff. Those folks live in the res halls with your students. Those folks are there 24/7. Those folks are there to provide, again, any connections, resources, opportunities, and support for your student as they are, again, transitioning from high school to college, transitioning to a new location, and then also learning how to just make friends. There's also on-site resources. So to allow for that to happen naturally, right? Those understandings and those connections, we have small groups that we call family groups. So those success coordinators will be essentially saying, hey, 25 of you are part of my group. We're going to start a group chat. I'm going to be emailing you often. I'm going to start a newsletter. I'm going to be telling you about different things happening in the building or on campus or out in the city. So please join me. And so those are family groups that we call. So again, to make it a little bit less intimidating and hopefully more fun to engage with each other. There's also going to be opportunities where students will meet folks from their local site. So for London scholars, there'll be tons of folks at the London campus. And for New York City scholars, there'll be tons of folks at the Marymount Manhattan College campus for you to meet, connect with, and be supported by. And then again, I want to reiterate that those on-site team is a 24/7 staff. So they are there during the day, during the evening, and late at night. And they are available and they will share their number and different contact with you so that you can get in contact with them should you need them. I also want to talk about, because we're part of a global network, which is wonderful. So we have, again, 2,800 students all around the world as first year students only. There's many other students also at Northeastern and moving about. But there's resources that because you're a Northeastern student and part of the global network, there are resources provided to you through this forum. And so much of them you'll hear about from my colleague, actually Kellyanne, in a bit. But Find is a mental health resource. It's a telehealth opportunity. There's so many ways for students to be provided support through that venue and that forum. If you just Google Northeastern Find, actually we'll put it in the chat as well. Please do take some time to research those opportunities. GSO is our Global Safety Office. You'll learn more about them, and also you might have met them in our other webinars, but they support all of our students all around the world. They support me and my team. And so they, in many ways, are watching our students all around the world, and they understand what's going on. And so they support us in any sort of natural or common disaster that's happening around the world. But also for our students, you have a resource that you can be guided by them. And all of the information, again, is on our Northeastern website. And again, we will be sharing that out with you all throughout the summer and throughout the year. Open is on the call, so I'll leave that to them to introduce themselves. And peer tutoring is another resource that, again, wherever you are, there's a resource for students to be able to be provided peer tutoring and resources for their academic success. There's so many more, and I just want to just highlight those because we think that those are really important for folks to know, particularly as you're making considerations about how a student is going to adjust to this first year program and their new locations. If we go on to the next slide, I just want to go ahead and provide support networks for our parents, because again, this is about you today in so many ways. And I want to make sure that you have the right information as you are going to be navigating what it means to be a parent to your student in the locations that they'll be. I want to highlight that you have our emails here. This is staffed. You can email us here. We have folks who will get back to you or connect with you. So please do use that email as a resource for London Scholars and New York City Scholars, as well as that phone number. So please call. And again, we will do our best to get back to you as soon as possible. Our goal is to get back to you, within 48 hours or so. And beyond that, you will likely always be able to be connected to someone specifically. You'll see here that we have assistant or associate director for part of our programs. You'll have a specific email, parents, that will be sent out to you, and they will be connected to you as saying, hey, I am the assistant or associate director of this program. I am your person. Please come to me, right? If everything else fails, please email me. I am your person, and I'll be able to connect with you. And so you'll receive that email and that person and that contact later this summer. And actually, you'll see their faces on the screen in just a moment. But I just want to, again, point to the left here. Here's how you'll be supported, parents. We will have ongoing communications where we will have newsletters that will go out, usually monthly, and they provide resources and connections to what your student is up to, deadlines that the program wants you to know about, and also maybe some tips about how we might want you to support your student in this transition. Also, if you haven't followed us or if you don't follow us on social media, please do. It's just a wonderful way to know what's going on in the magical world of Northeastern and all of the locations. You'll see here the central team that I called out earlier. So of course, myself are one of them, but behind me, I have associate directors, assistant directors, as well as all of my colleagues across our global network who will support my team as well as all of you. And then because I know, and actually our parent on the call can speak a little bit to this as well, we know that you all will make peer-to-peer groups, so parent groups to support each other. And that is wonderful. We understand that there's lots of years of resources here in so many ways that folks have been provided support of each other and also just a friend to lean on. So please do connect with Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups that will be providing resources to you. But I do just want to call out and say that those resources are great. But those folks don't work for the university. So please always take that with a grain of salt. Please ask my team. Please come back to us and to confirm. Please check our websites because again, things do change over the years, things do move quickly, and we just want to make sure that you're getting the right information. So please do use that as a resource and a connection, and lean on for support, but it is not an official a resource of the university. Okay, if we move on to the next slide here, I just want to call out, this is my team. I'm so pleased that we have these three members, and this is not everyone actually, but these are the central direct team that I want to be able to call attention to, because they're the ones who you'll be introduced to or will be asked to connect with, because they are the parent contact for our parent for our programs. And so you'll see here that Daniel Silverman is our assistant director for the London Scholars Program, working very closely with Jake Goldblum, who is our associate director of the London Scholars Program. Daniel and Jake will be, again, points of contact for our parents who have students in the London Scholars Program. Again, you'll be introduced to them in so many ways, but they will be your direct line to understand how to navigate the program, our campus in London, and sometimes even the resources that are available in our global network. Jasmine Williams is our associate director for the New York City Scholars Program. Again, she'll have a team as well that supports her, but she is the point of contact for the New York City Scholars Program. And again, parents, that's your person. That's who will ask you to reach out to and connect with. And she, again, will be the connector for you. All of them work within our department. All of them work with our colleagues. They know lots, but they might not know everything. And so please do give them grace as they work with our global network to get the answers back to you. And so just making sure that you understand that as you're reaching out to them and asking and needing their support along the way. Okay, if we move on, I just want to be able to provide some expectations, right? As you will continue to work with us and we will continue to work with you, I just want to be clear about how we will be communicating with you as a parent of this program. This is only a few things, right? So please don't take this as the final thing, but I just want to call out a few things about how we have been able to address these in the past. We will not contact parents for minor things, right? Such as a student might lose their phone, or your student has a common cold or a minor injury, or they're just dealing with adjustment or culture shock, or they miss class. So whether they're in London, whether they're in New York, again, these are general things that sometimes parents might assume that we will be contacting you for those things, and that's not the case. We really do rely on your student to be the main source of communicator with you about many of these things. And again, if they don't communicate with you, no worries. You see the note right under that. You can always contact us. So if you believe, or if you know, or if you just have a question and your student is not asking or answering you appropriately or getting back to you, you can reach out to us. Again, we will do our best to get you that answer. It's also about your student being able to give us permission to share that information as well. So again, this is a process and a journey together to support the student, but please know that we are working with you and working alongside you to support your student. What we will contact you for is, again, I called out before, but we will have a monthly newsletter. There will be Instagram updates. Of course, we email a ton if your student has not shared with you, or if you have not understood already. We will be emailing you lots. And so we will want to make sure that our parents are connected. If you don't know, we include parents on, I would say, 95% of the emails that we send to our first year students. So you are getting much of the emails that your students are getting. If you're not getting those emails, please reach out to our program email and we will figure that out. But again, it is about your student updating their contact information to provide your information so that we can email you. Again, I just want to make sure that that's clear, but you will be getting the emails that your students will be getting alongside this program, which is great. And then again, we will contact you in case of a major emergency. So yes, at that point, we will activate you. We want you to be involved in those. And we will do our best, again, to provide as much information as we can, as we are all working to support your student in that case. Speaking of that, I just want to be able to provide folks with resources today. I want you to leave this webinar with a takeaway. Actually, I'll have a few takeaways, but let's start with this one. I want you to be able to have a step-by-step guide on what happens when a non-emergency occurs with your student. So walk with me through this. Say your student calls you and is asking for support. I want you to kind of drill down here. And again, parent, I'm asking that you then begin to ask your student questions, right? Let's just take a beat. Your student is 17 or 18 or 19, a young adult. They're in a new place for the first time. They are receiving lots of information that is overwhelming. We're emailing them a ton. I'm assuming that many of them don't like email. So there's lots of things that they're navigating, right? And they're looking to you to be their resource. And again, we are also their resource, but they might have forgotten that. And so what I'm hoping that you'll do is when they call you for a non-emergency, you'll take a beat to then say, okay, hey, I'm going to ask you some questions. What's going on? What do you need? What have you done already? Right? And so again, based on the information that you're being provided, parent, based on the guidance that you have been provided by maybe us or others in your situation, I want you to, address them and also guide them as best you can. And again, based on their ability, based on whatever that non-emergency is. If we move right over to that second box there at the top in the middle, student follows, we will ask that the student then follows up, right, based on the resources provided by the program and site. So parent, you might not know what to do next, right? But hopefully the student can be reminded that, again, they have folks on the ground, right, who can support them, that on-site team. They have folks like my staff members who can support them. So please encourage them to then follow up with those resources. Hey, did you save the number of the staff members on, who live in your residence hall? Why don't you call that number, right? All of those things, that will be what I would ask that you do in those situations because they have been provided those resources for that reason. And so again, you'll see there that the pink note under says parent can encourage student to follow up based on resources provided by program site. So we would love for you to reiterate that and to encourage them on that. Again, they might have forgotten that, but we're hopeful that you can help remind them of those situations. If we move over to the third one there, student can call the on-call coordinator for support and be provided an update. So again, at that point, hopefully we have figured out that, it's a non-emergency. We are figuring things out for ourselves. I have my parent on my support. They know what's going on, but let me call the on-call coordinator so that now the university understands what's going on and can support the student in this case. Parent, at that point, you might be letting go of your student so that they can follow up with the on-site team, and you might be questioning what's going on. I want more updates. Totally fine. Your student can provide you those updates, but if you want it from the university, we just ask that you email the appropriate assistant director or AD that you've been connected to, and then they will follow up during business hours, right? Because they also need to now reach out and figure out what's going on, and they'll be able to share with you as best they can the information that they can about, again, this non-emergency situation. So please do take a screenshot of this. I just want to make sure that folks feel comforted in this. And again, this is just an example. Things will happen. Things might not happen in this way. It never happens in this ideal way, but at least this is a guiding, post for all of us in this situation. If we move on to the next one for emergencies, this is when it gets a little bit different and maybe there's a bit more steps, but still the same sort of approach as best we can, of course, with all the feelings and things that are going on in an emergency situation. So again, we're looking at the top left here. So student calls parent asking for support. I'm going to ask parents that you drill down and do those same things, understanding that this is a situation that might be a bit more heated than the first one. But any information that you can glean and gain because the student has called you, right, and for support, please provide and gain that as best you can so that maybe when you're connecting with us, you can provide that information as well. But if we move right to the middle here, I'm going to ask parent that you do exactly what you should be doing in any situation, but I know you're further away from the student. So of course, again, tensions are high, emotions are high, but we will ask that you have your student call the local authorities if you deem that to be the best next step. You should please call the local authorities of the location that they're at, so that they can get the appropriate help at that time. Again, if we drill down right under that, right, parent, if your student can't do that, we then ask that you do that, right? Because again, the best situation of this next step here during an emergency is that the appropriate folks are called, which is the local authorities. If we move over to the final drop down here, student can call the on-call coordinator. So again, please call the local authorities. And then right as soon as that's done, anyone, please call our on-call coordinator because again, we don't know what's going on. The university does not know what's going on. And it'd be best for us to be updated and provided information so that we can then support, again, you parent who might not be in that location, we can support your student with the next steps. If you drill right under there in that gray box, it says students will be provided with site-specific on-call information upon arrival, and they should store and save these contacts. So again, that's for any situations. As soon as they arrive to site, they're going to be receiving phone numbers for the team. Please have them put that in their phone. Students, please put that in your phone. And then again, parent can call the global support student support network. Again, you'll be provided that information. That's how you'll be provided support about how to gain resources or next steps. That team is 24/7 and they're trained for emergencies and crises. And then beyond that day or beyond that moment, parent, if you want more updates, again, your student is the best person to provide that update. But if they're not providing you those updates, parent, please email the appropriate assistant director or AD during business hours, and they will get back to you as appropriate. So again, I just want to provide this with you. We're hopeful that this will just be a guiding post. Please take a screenshot of this. And again, a way forward as you will be supporting your student this year. I know, a lot to go through. So we'll shake it off for a moment because I think my colleague is going to jump in next to be able to provide some more information about how you can be resourced and be supported during this upcoming year. Some of this information is particularly for students, but it's a lot for our parents to understand as well about how the university supports first years in their transition, but also when they might be confronted with some risky behavior. I'll turn it over to my colleague, Kellyanne.
Thank you, Shannon. Hi, everyone. I just turned my video off. Okay, back on. My name is Kelly. I'm the Director of Wellness Initiatives at the Office of Prevention and Education at Northeastern, otherwise known as OPEN. And we can go to the next. Thank you. At OPEN, we provide education, services, and resources on the topics of alcohol and other drugs, sexual violence, sexual health, and wellness. In the work that we do at Open, we always look towards the science to inform our programs and initiatives. And we don't do this because things like alcohol or other drug use or sexual violence is any worse or different here at Northeastern. It's just one of the many places that we've taken a leadership position and provided really forward-thinking approaches. And we know that these topics are complicated and as such requires a comprehensive approach. So I'm really excited to be here to talk to you all today because you all are such important partners in prevention work around this topic and in supporting our students. So I'm going to start off with the topic of mental health. And we did a study in 2022 with students, surveying them from the Healthy Mind Survey, and we asked them if they were experiencing serious emotional distress, where they would go. They reported 3 places that they would be most likely to go to, which is a family member, a clinician or therapist, or a friend. So we know that students are likely to go to you if they are experiencing issues around any of these topics, and also around mental health. With this in mind, we created guides specifically for parents and families around supporting student mental health. If you go to the link here, or the QR code, it will take you directly to the guide. These guides offer information on how to talk to your student about mental health issues that may come up, how to recognize signs that a student may be in distress, and what resources are available to them, no matter where they're located. We also have a guide that's available for students specifically. The resources that are available to students are through Find at Northeastern, where we have a suite of free confidential mental health services. This includes a 24/7 urgent mental health support line through UWIL, so students can call this phone number to speak to a clinician at any time. This is also helpful for you all to know if you are talking to your student and they need to talk to someone, they can call this phone number no matter where they are, no matter what time of day it is. Students also have access to unlimited free counseling sessions through UWIL, so they can meet with someone through a telehealth appointment, also no matter where they're located. They have access to Togetherall, which is a peer-to-peer support platform where students can anonymously speak to each other about experiences that they have that's monitored 24/7 by a clinician. They also have access to a free app called Headspace, which offers self-care strategies and things like meditations. There's also in-person supports available on campus in Boston and Oakland, and there's different supports available too, depending on what campus the student's studying during their program. Last thing I'll speak to is the self-paced online modules. So if students are looking to learn strategies on their own, they can learn about things like building resilience, among other topics through Find at Northeastern. Switching gears to talk a little bit about alcohol and other drugs. So at Open, we provide prevention and services around alcohol and other drugs, and we come from a harm reduction perspective. So we are offering strategies for students who are choosing to use any alcohol or other substance on how to reduce their risk. That being said, we know that the safest and best option for students, if they're looking to avoid any drawbacks from alcohol or other drug use, is to choose not to use. We also are acknowledging legality. So in the US, it is legal to drink if students are under the age of 21. We also know that students may be studying in London or other places where they can legally drink. There are also different laws for different substances, like cannabis, for example. There may be more consequences depending on the location that a student is in. And these are all things that we are talking to your students about as well, so they understand the legality of the alcohol or other substances if they are choosing to do that. The other piece here is that we're talking to students about risk reduction strategies if they are making the choice to use. And I want to talk to you all today about how you can have these conversations with your student as well. That being said, I know that not all students are choosing to drink or use a substance. In fact, 30% of students report not drinking in a typical 3-month period. This is from a survey that goes out to all students, including those that are 21 and older. And 73% of students report not using cannabis in a typical 3-month period. So we know that about a third of our students are not drinking in a typical 3-month period, and a majority of our students are choosing not to use cannabis. So if your student is doing the same, to know that they're not alone. And similarly, we share this with your students to support them in making that decision. I do want to touch upon 5 different things when we are thinking about college student drinking and why we spend so much time talking about this and talk to your students about drinking as well. So the first is that we know college is typically the heaviest use time in one's life. And peer influence really matters as far as if a student is choosing to drink, how much or how frequently they're drinking. We also know that messaging can impact behavior. So as a society, we receive a lot of messages that college students are drinking a lot and that some people are always doing it more than others. And this can really impact students' behavior. We also know that consequences around drinking can be minimized and may even be seen as a rite of passage. And finally, there's a myth that college drinking is time limited. So how a student's drinking will change once they graduate from college. For some students, this is true, and for other students, this may not happen. About 2/3 of students will mature out of their college drinking, but that means about 1/3 of our students will not. If for students that are choosing to drink, this is why we really want to make sure that you all are in the know of how to talk to them about it. And I'm going to talk about a couple of resources, how to do that in a second. But first, I'm going to transition to talking about cannabis. So we were talking a lot about alcohol. What we know about cannabis is different. The science isn't caught up in the same way. So we don't have as much information on risk reduction strategies, for example, like we do around alcohol when we're talking to students. We know that there are still risks associated with cannabis use, and that risks are higher for higher potency cannabis. So what I'm showing you here is a graph that looks at THC percentages in cannabis that's been seized by the DEA. They sample how much THC, which is what makes cannabis psychoactive component, and they also sample CBD, which I won't be talking about today, but the red line is THC percentage. As you can see, since 1995 to 2022, THC percentages have greatly increased. Sometimes we hear parents say, I smoked in college and I was fine. And what we wanted to make sure that we draw your attention to today is that the drug that students would be using now is much different than it was then, considering that the percentages of THC have increased significantly. So 10% THC is what we would consider high potency, and the average is now significantly over that. What this means is that there's greater risks associated if people are choosing to use cannabis. And if you go to the next slide, thank you. We know that frequent cannabis use is associated with academic impacts like lower GPAs, potentially stopping enrollment, and lower likelihood of graduating on time. We also know that cannabis use is associated with impacts on physical and mental health. And as I mentioned, it is a considerable greater risk for anything that's a higher potency THC level. To the next slide. So how do you all have this conversation with your student if it's something that you're interested in? You may be wondering if they'll even listen to you or care, or how to start a conversation, or really what do you say to them about this? You may already be having these conversations with your student and you don't need our advice. Whatever the case may be for you and your family, I want you to know that I'm in no way telling you how to handle this issue, but we do want to share how families can work as partners in prevention around this topic. And we know that families really can influence student behavior when it comes to substance use. So a couple of pieces that I wanted to touch upon around the research around family engagement and college student drinking. So parent and family engagement has been shown to lead to less risky use in adolescent and college student populations. And what do I mean by parent and family engagement? This is like general conversations that you're having with your student. So it could just be trying to contact them throughout the week. We know that more significant links are shown to be when parents and families are having conversations specifically around what their students are doing at night, who their friends are, and about their drinking. So just having general communication, but particularly also when it comes to drinking with your student, is shown to have less risky use for students. The other piece is that drinking permissiveness for parents is shown to be associated with more risky use. What I mean by drinking permissiveness is how a student sees your thoughts around drinking. So if they think it's okay to be drinking in their parents' eyes, is linked to consequences related to student alcohol use. Many well-intended parents and families think that the way for students to avoid problems related to drinking is to teach their students at a young age how to drink. So allowing them to drink to take the novelty away when they have more access or opportunity to drink. Dr. Amelia Area, who is a well-known researcher in this field, always says that this is an area where practice does not make perfect. So we know that allowing students to drink makes it seem like it is okay in your students' eyes to drink and can be linked to riskier behaviors. So the other piece that we have here is we are sharing a lot of information with your students around how to make healthy decisions around alcohol and other drug use, whether that's choosing not to drink or if they are choosing to drink, how to do so in a less risky way. They receive an e-checkup to go for alcohol before they get to their campuses. So the e-checkup to go is a self-guided educational tool that students will learn more about their own personal use and learn risk reduction strategies. Students can also meet with us if they're looking for more support around their alcohol or other drug use by going to our website and signing up for an alcohol and other drug check-in meeting. We also have resources for you all as parents and families and how to have these conversations with your students. We're really proud to offer the only evidence-based handbook that's available for talking to your students about college drinking. This is all on our website, along with information on how to talk to your student about cannabis. So we'll offer strategies, tools, and ways to reduce defensiveness if you are choosing to have this conversation with your student. The last piece here I'm going to talk about is around relationship, sex, and dating, which is another piece of information that we are talking to your students about. And we wanted to mention this all to you because similarly to talking about mental health, we know that students are likely to go to you all. And in fact, 70% of students reporting that they wish they received more information from their parents about relationships, whether that's how to have more mature relationship, how to begin a relationship, or how to communicate in a relationship. So this is an area where they do say that they would love to hear from their parents. We also share this information with your student before they go abroad and also when they are on site. But we wanted to share with you Northeastern's definition of consent. This is something that you also can talk with your student about, knowing that we're sharing this information with them once they get to on-site orientation or if they are attending a pre-departure orientation. And it may be an opportunity to start a conversation around this is by talking about what you learned in Northeastern's orientation today or when you receive it. Here we have our email and our website. You can also follow us on Instagram where we are sharing updates and information. The Instagram account that you see here at NU Health and Wellness is for both open and mental health services. And thank you all today. I'm going to pass it back to Shannon.
Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. Lots of great information. Very, very helpful. Again, folks, we are recording this and we will share this back out with you. So, and again, we're dropping information in the chat. So please do bookmark those websites as well. Okay, I know we're down to time. There's too little time, so much to talk through. And so I do want to spend some time introducing you and talking to our parent who's on the call. So Jackie, if you want to turn your screen. Hello, Jackie. How's it
Hey
going?
guys.
Jackie, do you want to just introduce yourself and again, just mention what your student, how your student engaged in their first year last year?
Yeah. So last year, my son Oscar was a freshman and he did London for the first semester and then Oakland for the second semester. It's a program that no longer exists, but it was around for 2 years and he really enjoyed it. He had an incredible experience the past year. And also at the same time, starting around the time that people got their decisions, their EA decisions or regular decisions, we have a group of parents that got together and we ended up becoming about 375 parents that got connected and we created a WhatsApp group. And so some of the I asked my people in the WhatsApp group to share some of their ideas about how it went last year. So some of the things I'm going to share based on your questions may be related to other people's experiences as well.
That's perfect, Jackie. And yeah, I want to just shout out that Jackie was someone that was connected to me throughout the year, as someone who was a lead in that WhatsApp group, but also was really to be able to, hey, this is what folks are talking about. How do you want to clarify this and things of that sort. So I just want to say thank you, Jackie, for being a connected
Thank you.
parent throughout the year.
You're welcome.
So maybe my first question is, how did you set up your student for independent success as they navigated the program? You mentioned your student went to London and Oakland. That's a lot in 1 year. These students are staying in their location for the whole year, which is great, London and New York, but still there's a transition there. How did you prepare your student for that?
Well, I think a lot of, we talk about independence, during the time before he joined Northeastern and especially like the summer before, we did things like teach him how to cook. And in fact, he got so into it that he created a new cooking Instagram page. And then when he arrived to London, he found out that the panini grill was his friend. So he purchased a panini grill and was having dinner parties in the dorm room. So that was really hilarious. Yeah, but being able to get around public transit is huge. Knowing how to do your laundry, knowing that things aren't going to go as expected, and then a lot of things around personal safety, making sure that, like, I would ask him all the time, do you know where your passport is? Even if we're at home, or do you know where your ID is? Because that's going to be critical. So yeah.
That's a big one, and that's a great segue into the next question. But just I want to emphasize that both of these programs, London Scholars and the New York City Scholars, are in major metropolitan cities, right? These are big cities. These are millions of people. There's a lot going on. Again, we've been doing this for many years, so this is not new, but still, it's a big adjustment. So I think you called out a few of those things, but maybe just any other tips you might have for that you gave to your student, right? As they navigated the big city, and even Oakland being a big city, depending on where folks are from. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we definitely focus a lot on safety. First of all, they're not in a car very much, but when they are in Oakland in particular, we said you should always be in an Uber and going somewhere specifically, and being as careful as you can with traffic, because if you make the wrong exit, you might be somewhere you weren't expecting to be, and then getting out of it can be a mess. But one thing that we prepared for, some things we prepared for, some things we didn't. But I'd say being prepared for your kid to lose or have their phone stolen, being prepared for your kid to lose or have their computer stolen. My son had made it perfectly out of London, and then in Oakland, these 3 kids that have gotten too comfortable left their backpacks in a car, and then it was smashed, and all the laptops were taken. And the amount of time that it takes to recover from that will be dependent upon how much time you prepared beforehand. So things like having great backup plans. Where would you get a computer if you had to replace yours? I think those are great things to just have the plan. And likewise, when you talked about like the medical emergencies. When the kids all arrived to their dorms, there's like a nice piece of paper that had everyone's phone number on it. Making sure that you have a copy of that literal piece of paper, no matter what else is shared, you just know that this is what your child will see when they arrive to their dorm, that these are the resources. And yeah, so the other thing that I experienced a few times is that parents couldn't reach their kids and they got super nervous. And so having a plan on how you guys will communicate, because sometimes my son's day was over around midnight. I mean, he was just had no time because of fun things as well. But it was like, team meetings, club meetings, and he was so excited to have such a full life in London. But that really literally meant he didn't have time to answer the phone. And at least he might have texted me to say, hey, I'm okay, chat later. That's fine. But some students were not doing that with their parents. And so then the parents would reach other parents to say, hey, how can you help my son be found? And of course, everyone ended up being fine. But, having a backup plan for what happens when I can't reach you would be another thing I would recommend.
That's a great point. I want to jump to again maybe some tips or tricks on how you navigate it. What was your system like? Because folks are gonna be navigating time zones
Right.
or just schedules, right? And so talk us through how you and Oscar, what was your plan for each other
Yeah.
to connect with each other?
Well, usually he did not initiate too many times because he knew I was going to be checking in. But knowing that he's in his dorm was one way to know that he wasn't in the middle of a class or a club meeting or something. So that's how we did that. I mean, so we're 9 hours away, and so yeah, we figured it out. I guess that would be first thing in the morning for me, was a reasonable time for him. But I didn't. I just need to know he was well. I mean, if you really boil it down, all you need to know is that they are okay, happy, and that any other conversation can happen later. So that's the most urgent thing that you're going to find, is that having the thumbs up is kind of the bottom line. Um, yeah. So we didn't have anything scheduled per se, but I looked out for the thumbs up is how it
Nice.
summarized. Yeah.
I want to elevate, I think, because I think it's important to talk about, a lot of these things, of course, are tips and tricks about how to support in maybe some uncomfortable situations. But can you tell us a little bit about just what was Oscar involved in London and in Oakland, just so folks can understand what students are provided when they're a scholar?
Oh yeah. So so I'll kind of go through his journey, especially in London, since it's more applicable. When he first arrived, there was an orientation week where a lot of events have been set up for people, and that's kind of very specific timelines. And I would just recommend that whatever the school is doing, even if you're not joining that particular group, that sounds like a great idea. Like to go on the Ferris wheel. Like even if you're not in that specific 4 p.m. cohort, you can be there at 4:30 and it's still going to be there. So, he got super involved. And unlike high school where sometimes it's cool not to do things, at Northeastern, it's super cool to be super involved in doing all of it. So encourage your child to change that mindset that being a part of it is actually where it's at.
Mm.
Yeah, so he did that. And then there are some key milestones during the year,
Hmm.
such as when students prepare to do some travel and they might have some questions for you or a budget, or they might ask for recommendations. The students would meet together in the dorm room and make all their travel plans at the same time. So, listen out for that. So travel. And then registering for the next semester was a big hurdle. Like, hey, what
Mm.
classes am I going to take? And have you talked to your advisor? What do they say? Um, Travel again, registration, and then housing for the end of the year. So I would say
Mm.
there's these 7 or 8 milestones where, as a parent group, for example, we were all like hunkering down, reading over all your emails and saying, no, no, but in this paragraph, because Shannon, you said sometimes, the official information versus unofficial, but my people wanted all the proof. Okay. So you
Hmm.
couldn't claim something unless you had the email from Shannon saying that, this is where we find that you can register at 4 p.m., whatever the
Hmm.
case was. And then you also mentioned that some of the emails, that parents receive all the emails, but from a student perspective, some of the emails are coming from you
Yeah,
and the program, and some of the emails are coming from Northeastern at large, and we don't get all those emails. So
correct.
as a
Yeah.
parent, you always have to think, my student is getting more than this. Maybe I need to be helping or asking, but you know, at some point, it also seems like the ratio of emails that the student gets to parent is understandably less as time moves on.
Yeah.
So yes, and yeah.
Understood. And thank you for that clarification. I want to make sure I address that to this group. You're right, Jackie. So I'll speak for the program. From the program, we will send parents 95% of the emails that the student receive. But you're right, Jackie. There's so many more emails and so many more departments and resources that your students will be hearing from the network at Northeastern,
Right.
outside of the program. But we do our best to just be guiding you through this program because again, we know that as a first year student, it's a lot to navigate. And so thank you for that clarification. So from the program, you're right. You'll receive about 95% of the emails from us. But please know, to Jackie's point, your student is receiving tons of other emails and tons of other connections across Northeastern. Thank you for sharing that, Jackie. I think I have one more question that I want to make sure that we highlight. Maybe looking back a year ago, right, when you were sitting in many of these parents' seats, what do you wish you knew then, or what do you wish you knew about the experience before? Because I think sometimes people come into this with a lot of anxiety. So
Yeah.
what advice might you give to folks sitting in those seats now?
Well, it's funny, I made a list of those.
Oh, I
So the
love that.
first thing is to understand the schedule so you can not I mean, we have this false sense of control, we don't have the control, but it's good to know that next hurdle that your student's about to go on. And again, that's orientation, move-in, and supplies. On the move-in and supplies thing, I'd say if my son went to 2 different universities and is now well, or locations and is about to go to a third, anything can be fit in a suitcase, and that's about it. I mean,
Mhm.
don't overthink the whole, "Oh, my child has to be in a dorm with a bunch of stuff we've got at Target." We obviously did our Target runs and that sort of thing, and the Argos run over in London, but, less can be more. Anyway, move in, the registration for classes twice, and the housing selection. Those are the big things to like your student is likely to be running late on one of those deadlines, so be prepared for those. Encourage them to participate a ton. So my son did the consulting society over in London, and it was founded last year, and he was one of the leaders, and he spent a lot of time there, and there's enough time, like, you can be as busy as you wanna be by even just the consulting society alone, and that is all inclusive. Consulting society wants people from all walks of life and all different kinds of career paths. So, if you just have one thing to tell your student to check out, I would say it's a consulting society. It's, like, intended to be cross-disciplinary. Um, and then, yeah, I think and it's all gonna work out. I mean, we had some rough spots where maybe the dorm was noisy or whatever it might have been at the time. And in the end, it all worked out, and he had an incredible experience. Like he had to pinch himself as like how much fun he was having. Like the inaugural event where everyone gets welcomed into the school.
Yes,
Uh,
convocation. Yes.
Convocation, it was
Mhm.
amazing. It was literally created almost like it was created by a 19-year-old for what a 19, 20-year-old would want, or 18. Um, it was perfect for that. It was so in tune to what students want, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but it was just very festive. And likewise, Thanksgiving, he stayed in London for Thanksgiving and ended up having the Thanksgiving dinner at a beautiful location, but it was also very modern. They had a dance party, as part of this Thanksgiving. So I thought it was just very, I thought it was genius that they really know this group of kids and what they want. And it was an opportunity for him to network with a bunch of kids that he hadn't really met in the classroom. And so he still has those friendships now and has even visited them already in Boston. So it just doesn't end. It's amazing. The opportunities are endless.
I love that. Thank you, Jackie. And I just want to let folks know that convocation will happen. That happens across many of our sites. And so that is a way for us to welcome students to the university. And our president likes a party. So we typically, that's the theme of it. And so it's welcoming folks and giving folks joy in those ways.
Yeah.
I do also want to call out, I know Jackie's speaking a bit about the London campus, but please know that as students who are heading to New York, these things this is a pillar of the scholar program. So even when we're at new locations, it's our first time in New York, many of these aspects will still follow our students to those locations. Jackie, I do have one question from the folks out in the world. The question is, they would love to know when who went to onboard their kids if they chose to go to onboard their kids at site, and travel with them, versus would it be better just to go later? What would be your advice, or what was your
Oh
experience?
my gosh, so funny. That's a question. It's a great question. So I decided that I was not going to be a part of my students' onboarding. Like I deliberately wanted that London experience to be 100% theirs. So I did not go at the beginning. I did not go all semester. Um, some parents showed up at the very beginning. And you're going to know which one you are. I mean, I'm not going to tell people to go or not go. Of course, they wanted to be with their student as they were dropping them off, but this is not a conventional college student drop off. It's, they're in London, you don't have to feel that responsibility that, oh, I have to be there. So some parents who did got in the way of their kids getting to know each other. So one student told us parents, like, oh my gosh, these parents are suffocating me. I'm trying to meet new friends in my first week of school, and there's all these parents hanging around. So that was really,
Mm,
that's direct from student feedback. And then a lot of people really enjoyed showing up maybe in October, or later in that semester. And that seemed to be a great balance. So it's always going to be up to this parent. The parents that went, probably thought it was completely unforgettable, that, it was fantastic for them. So we're
yes.
all happy with our decision, but they're all very different decisions.
I appreciate that, Jackie. I also just want to call out that we will host parent sessions. So when you show up to New York or London, there will be parent sessions so that you can meet the team and meet others there. But generally, orientation, so even convocation, those things are for students. So at that point, we will ask parents to, make their way back home or find other ways around the city, but we will then be orienting our students to Northeastern. So parents typically are not part of those orientation events. But again, parents will have specific things for them during those first few days as you're moving your student onto campus. But as Jackie mentioned, there's so many different variations of how people show up to this program. So no worries either way. I know we're right at time, but I do want to just move through. If we just want to share the next few slides, I want to make sure folks leave with some preparation. I want to make sure folks are leaving with some next steps. And so if we move to the next slide, this will be able to provide folks some ways to be able to begin to support your student. And so Jackie mentioned even, right, like preparing her student for living independently. So these are some of the ways that we're going to ask that you start to have conversations with your students, start to hopefully build their skills in these ways: laundry, cooking, cleaning. Again, folks are living independently. They will be living in spaces where they will be responsible for making sure that everything works appropriately, and they are advocating for themselves, and they're cleaning up themselves, and they're working with others who might be their roommate. So again, this is a new space if they have not done that before. So please begin to prep them for that. Budgeting is huge as they're navigating traveling on them for themselves, or just navigating budgeting generally. This is all really important steps. So please take a screenshot of this. And of course, those questions too: how to access documents, how to receive information about their medical information, how to have difficult conversations. Begin to prep them for those things. The next slide here will also begin to jump into those conversations. Again, we don't want them to be managing everything for the first time, many miles away and many different hours away from you, and also maybe alone in this way. So we want them to be able to be prepared for that, and have some grit behind that. And so hopefully having these conversations over the summer during car rides or trips, or just hanging out in the house, will help prepare them for that, and maybe not be the first time they're thinking about it when it's happening to them in their first year of college. And then there's another slide here. Just want to be able to get folks to be able to be prepared. We do lots of webinars, and we record them and send them out to you. So if you haven't watched them, or if your student hasn't watched them, please have them be read up on this program and this experience. And we're hopeful that that will be set forth for them. And then again, things to ask your student to flag now is just making sure that they have the appropriate information allocated on their enrollment form. Any accommodations, any medical needs, any dietary needs, they should be upfront with those, and hopefully be supported and ready to be supported around those. But they need to let us know of those things in the appropriate channels. So again, emails have gone out about those things, and so please make sure that they're prepped for that. I think I have one more slide here, which is really a promotion for our next webinar, which is next week. So we have a health and wellness preparedness webinar. I'll have colleagues from the University Health and Counseling Services Department speaking more about the ways that we are providing support around health and wellness, but also about how folks need to show up for being prepared to provide for themselves during health and wellness. So medications and traveling around that, and doctor's appointments, and different vaccinations and things of that sort. So this is a really important webinar. Please do come, or again, watch as it will be recorded. That is next Tuesday, June 24th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we look forward to seeing you then. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. I want to thank my colleagues for supporting us. I want to thank Jackie for being on this call with us and talking about her experiences with her now second year student, but also global scholar, Oscar. And I want to thank my colleague Kellyanne from the Open office who supported us today. Thank you all. We will see you all soon and enjoy the rest of your day.